Go on, Jem.
Good evening. Hi, everybody. Welcome to this week's episode of Entering the Unknown. First off, I am so sorry that we are running so late. We have had some what can only be described as chaotic technical problems. Wouldn't you agree, Dave?
Hair pulling issues. That's why I've not got much left.
Absolutely. I think somewhere in here I've got loads of grey hairs now as well. So this week we are joined by the amazing Debbie Marcum. Good evening, Debbie. How are you?
Good evening. I'm good. It's actually afternoon at my house, so
It is. Yeah, of course. Sorry. It's habit, you see. We just automatically say evening.
I had to Google. Dave's like, be on at 9 UK time. And I'm like, okay, what time is that? You know?
So that will be what time?
Right. Right on.
You gotta love Dave, honestly. Bless his little heart. Well,
For
Debbie,
sure.
thank you so much for joining us this afternoon or this evening. So, Debbie, we've been wanting to talk to you for quite some time now because you are quite a fascinating lady, to say the least.
Yeah, I've heard that before.
So I mean, just a little. Could you just give us a brief rundown of what it is that you do, Debbie?
Well, I'm going to start from what I started with. I started as a actual minister. I was a minister, not really doing any kind of ministering other than, church ministry. And I then became a medium, which is not like something that ministers are supposed to do. And that just happened by happenstance. I don't know how it happened. It just happened. I didn't try. I didn't believe in it. So I became a medium. Then I became a grief minister. Then I started working with police on missing persons cases. And I also joined a paranormal investigation team, which I don't know. So, for some reason, all people think that mediums should be on a paranormal team. I don't know why, but I am a chicken. I don't do much of anything. I support them wholeheartedly. If they need me, I go. But I go to the parties. That's what I do. So, yeah, that's what I do.
So the mediumship, how did that come about?
I have always had like an intuition. So if the phone rings, I would always know who it was going to be. Or if something were to happen, say like minutes before it happened, I would get a premonition, or I would see a movie in front of my face that it was going to happen. That was disturbing. I really thought I possibly might need a psychiatrist at that point. And I didn't go because I was afraid I would be locked up. So I ended up just trying to research a little bit. Back then, there was nothing. There wasn't anything. The internet wasn't even alive back then. And so I just let it go, and it just kept happening. I learned to accept that part of me. Nothing else really was happening. Never saw anybody, dead people, didn't see anything, just very calm. Until one day when I got my hands on some tarot cards, and the same day that I touched those tarot cards, all of a sudden I am seeing people in my mind, not like physically, because I tell everybody I've never seen a ghost.
So this is all physically in your mind's eye,
Yeah.
then? You've not actually seen like a full-bodied apparition?
Correct. I've never seen that. I hope I never do, because I would not want to, but I see the spirit in my mind, and I can talk to the spirit. It gives me pictures, and it was my neighbor's mother, who my neighbor was sitting in front of me, and so we both turned 10 shades of white, and that was bad. That was a bad day. I didn't sleep for 2 nights. It was terrible. And because back then there really wasn't a whole lot of talk about this kind of thing. I was actively ministering. I was not supposed to be doing this.
No, just going back to the ministering. How did they take that? Because this is obviously massively frowned upon.
It is massively frowned upon. I didn't tell anybody. And if people go to my page even now, even though I'm so out there, like I do a lot of interviews, I do a lot of events, I tell my story, I don't post it on my page. I don't. I don't know why. I still am that way. I do my work and I try to keep it very quiet. And especially when it comes to the police and things, you know, you cannot really be boasting about what you're doing. And
It's not something to boast about as such,
no.
is it? I mean, the way I see it from an outsider looking in, if I was to see somebody that was boasting about that, I mean, we will get onto it more for people that are watching, so they understand obviously what's occurring. But if I was to see somebody boasting about specifically about the work that you do with the police,
Right.
I would instantly turn off, because to me it's all about you, when that's not what it's about. I mean, it's a gift that you've obviously got, that you're sharing, and you're trying to help loved ones. So, you know, I don't think that is something that you should be bragging about anyway.
Correct.
In all fairness,
100%.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, we will get onto that more in a minute. Don't get me wrong, what you do is amazing. And you have actually been very successful on quite a few cases, haven't you?
I have. How do you know that?
Because I know everything. I am like the all-seeing, all-being, one and only Gemma, don't you know?
Oh, no. Okay.
It's just called being prepared, Debbie.
Okay. You're good. I'll give you that, because I never post about that. Never.
No.
So what would the church?
Go ahead.
What would the church would have said if they found out that you were a medium?
I think they would have frowned upon that greatly. I've gone into grief ministry now, where I minister to the families of the missing. So I've left all the other stuff behind, and I've kind of just moved forward with this now.
I mean, to be fair, you was running the risk of being burnt at the stakes, wasn't you, really? in regards to mediumship and the ministry, because those two don't go hand in hand. Which realistically you would think that they would, because whichever way you look at it, belief and religion all come into ghost hunting, paranormal experiences, mediumship. They do all blend in there. You would think that they'd be open, but they're not.
Right. And you know, I think things have loosened up a little more since that time in my life, but
I mean, how many years ago are we actually talking, Debbie? I mean, you're only 21, so it can't have been that long ago.
You know, I'm close to 60, so I it's been a long time. It's been since, you know, I was in my late 30s, early 40s. So it's been a long time, and it's something that I don't regret anything that's happened. I regret that I didn't take a more active role sooner in I think everything happens when you're ready, and you're supposed to have it happen. But I wish it would have just been a little bit earlier in my life. You know,
see, the thing is, though, like you say, I'm a true believer in fate, as you will, and things do happen at a point in your life when you're ready to handle that. I mean, had it have happened earlier, it could have had a completely different ending to what you've got now, in all fairness.
Right, exactly. And so I'm very happy. I mean, I spent a lot of my life trying to serve. I mean, that it was my life. And I mean, I would do everything. And I gave money away. I did everything. I was making,
did you want my bank details, Debbie?
You're so cute. I'm going to add you to our group of, close knit friends who does radio together. So
add us in. We're always up for a good old chinwag, aren't we, Dave?
I know.
Yeah.
So I was actually making collecting clothes from my neighbors and my friends and making sleeping bags and taking them to Detroit after I stuffed them in Detroit. So I would drive them down there myself, and I would stuff them with food and water, and I wasn't very well receptive down there, and I didn't even care. I kept going, and it was just, I just didn't feel comfortable with anything that I was doing until I finally started this mediumship and the missing. It was almost like, oh, this is it. Like I finally found what I'm supposed to be doing. So I have to remember that sometimes, even with ministry, because it still kind of gets, a little touchy for me still. Like I sometimes I question myself, and I know I'm not supposed to, but I do.
I don't know. I think questioning yourself is always good, because that's how you progress, isn't it?
It is absolutely.
So I think you have to question yourself at some points. I think that's just human nature. Everybody at some point does take that moment and sit there and go, what the hell am I doing?
Right. And why aren't I telling anybody about it? That's what I'm
absolutely.
It's so funny.
I think we all still meet people now. I mean, I work in the car industry, and a lot of people that I work with didn't actually know what I do in my free time. So when the odd thing comes out and it's like, oh well, actually I'm a paranormal investigator, they're like, do what now? You're a Ghostbuster. No, I'm not a Ghostbuster. I'm not running around with a proton pack. I'm not like that. That is not what it's about.
Right.
But I think the lack of knowledge sometimes, that just shows through in people's questioning, doesn't it? Because they don't understand. So what came first for you, Debbie? Was it the Haunted Trail or Project Missing?
God, you really do know you know your stuff, girl.
You're very welcome.
Actually, it was the Haunted Trail that came first. They both came around the same time, I think, but following the Haunted Trail, maybe it didn't come first, because the person that I was doing that was involved in the missing with me. So was it
like a blend?
It was kind of like a blend, because we had this really great thing that we were going to start doing, and then of course everything fell apart, and I just kept it because I loved following the Haunted Trail. So I use it in different things, still.
So the Haunted Trail, how does that work?
Well, this is how it was working a long time ago. Is we had groups of people, and we were going to different haunted locations. And that was, following the Haunted Trail. Well, it got to be, I ended up moving away. And so everything just kind of fell apart when that happened. But I kept my Project Missing. Project Missing is my baby. It's like, so incredibly, I'm so blessed with all the people that are just on there, and they share the posts. I mean, that is just so amazing to me. So amazing. We did find one girl who did go missing, and not necessarily from my site, but with all the sharing and all the posting that everybody did, they found her. She had amnesia, and she was in Chicago, from Alabama to Chicago, with amnesia. Had no idea who she was, but they found that, they put the post out there, and we all shared it, and they found her. So that was just remarkable to me. That made me just continue to feel like this is something, we've got to keep going with this.
Absolutely. And then that's moved on, hasn't it? Like you say, Project Missing, so search and rescue. So that works for, I suppose it works for both, doesn't it? So people that have passed over and the living. So this isn't a case of just one size fits all. This is covering all bases.
Right. But people don't know that except you. I'm telling you got something going here.
I'm just really good at this. Why do you think Dave wanted me in the first place?
You are darn good at this.
He didn't want me for anything else other than I'm really good at talking. That's all he wanted me for.
It's amazing. I can't believe it. I'm probably turning all shades of red over here.
No, you're not. You're doing fine. You look beautiful, darling. Beautiful.
Thanks.
So with the project Missing Search and Rescue, how does the cases come about? So obviously, because we've touched upon the fact that you have worked with the police.
Mm-hmm.
So do you approach the police, or do the police come to you?
No. Most of the time how it works, it differs sometimes. I have investigators who know what I do. They call me, or I'll have dog teams call me. I have family members call me. I have so many people that call me and bring me in. I don't generally work with family because the information that I get is pretty graphic. So
does the working with families, though, can that coincide and I suppose in a way clash as well with the grief ministry side of things as well, because then you become attached?
Correct. I mean, I am still very, very close to my families that I work with, so that will never ever go away. I am very, very blessed to have that as part of my life, because it's hard. You get so close to people when you're doing this. And one family I worked with for over a year, and then until we found her. And it was, sometimes it's not instantaneous. You have to really work to get this. It's just like a job. And I spent a year and a week with this family, weekly almost, going to their house, sitting in their house, having a conversation with her daughter. Her daughter would not communicate with me outside of the house. So it wasn't like I could go home and say, okay, I'm going to work on this case. I couldn't. I had to actually go to the house physically, sit in the house and communicate with her. And the day, I don't know, do you want to hear about the day we found her? Because it's
absolutely
kind of a story.
Yeah.
So her name was Heather Cousineau. And the day that we were going to go out, there were 4 of us. We went from hundreds of people in the beginning down to pretty much 4 of us who were searching. So we went, because as the years go on, it gets really daunting and people just fall off. And we've already ground pounded. We've already searched. And I was laying in bed. It was 5 o'clock in the morning. The night prior, I had talked to Diane, and Diane's Heather's mother. They had an argument. She left the house in her scrubs when, a year and a week prior to this day. And we had discussed if we ever found her, she was going to Florida. Her brother was very ill. And she was supposed to be home. I was supposed to be able to, utilize her house and blah, blah, blah. So she said, I'll leave you the key. Just lock it up when you're done, and I have to go to Florida. I said, okay, I'm just saying, if we find her, you don't come home. There's nothing that you can do. You stay right where you're at. So 5 o'clock in the morning, I am awakened by Heather hovering over me, which never happened ever. And she was just like, you tell my mother she can't go. Now, at this time, her mother was already in Florida. This is the morning that we were searching. And you tell her she can't leave. You tell her she can't leave. And I'm thinking, oh my God. I'm like, okay. I mean, she's like right here in my face. And I was startled and I was nervous and scared. So I got on my phone and I texted her mom and I said, listen, were you just talking about leaving or something? Or what is happening? What are you doing right now? And she says, well, I'm in the car. We're going to the hospital, to take my brother to the hospital for a treatment. And I was just talking about moving to Florida. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Okay. So Heather is there. She's listening to you. You tell her, and you don't stop talking to her all day. And you tell her if she wants you to stay, or she wants to be with you, she has to let us find her today. And it's just a crazy story how it all ended up happening. But we ended up finding her that day. She had been deceased for a year and a week. It was November when she went missing. She was in her scrub, so she froze. And she was, if you look out your window of her house, you could see right where she was at.
No.
That's how close she was. Yeah.
So what happened? Was it hypothermia or?
It was hypothermia. Yep. And she, she was on medication for depression and all kinds of different things. And she had left. She was angry because her mother said she can't go and blah, blah, blah. And I don't know what happened, but
as children do with mothers that say no or parents that say no.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So she did. She died of hypothermia, and she was sitting in a tree, like sitting in the crook of a tree. So the tree was like this and then grew up like this. And she was sitting in the crook of that tree right there. And it was devastating when we found her. It was just devastating. Even though we knew she was gone, it was devastating. But then the roles reversed, and guess who became suspects? All four of us. How did you find this? Because we've been here 100 times and our dogs have been here. And so I'm just sitting there going, oh my God, oh, okay. But yeah, we ended up obviously we didn't do anything, for crying out loud. She died right in that spot. So, I mean, it was crazy. That just
poor girl. That is absolutely heartbreaking.
It is.
I could feel myself welling up then. I was like, oh my God, I'm
Yeah.
about to start crying live on Facebook.
And it's hard for me too, because, well, I was hysterical anyway, but when you're having that contact for so long with somebody on the other side, you feel like you know them.
So did you already know that she'd passed previous to?
Oh yeah. Yes.
So do you know straight away? Well, not straight away, but as soon as you, what would you call it, link in with somebody?
I do. That's why the police like to use me. And sometimes the police will just, a detective will call me and say, hey, listen, can you let me know if this person is alive or dead so that we know which direction to go? And I can tell them. And, why I have never been wrong, I don't know. I don't know how it works. I've had people want to study my brain. I won't let them do that because I don't know what's entailed in all that. But I don't know. I mean, it is an ability. I don't call it a gift, because a gift you can return. I cannot return this. I've tried. I have tried and tried. I've begged God. And that's another thing that, I've had to tell some of the Christian people in my life, that I've begged God to take this away. I've begged him. And I don't believe
that, wanted.
Yeah. I mean, I don't believe God is that cruel that he would make me suffer with this.
But on the other side of that coin, is it not a case of the caring nature and the support that you would then give to these families?
Right. Exactly.
So it's hard for you, but then you can pass on that comfort, if you like.
Right. And
so in a way, it's protecting the families. So it's really difficult, because which way do you go?
Exactly.
Exactly. It's so difficult.
I know it. It's like I when I'm in the middle of a case and I'm working a case, I know that that's what I'm supposed to be doing. The mediumship part of it is just an added bonus, because for me, I feel like I can never save anybody. I can never save anybody from passing. I've been able to help people find. No, that's not true. I've been able to help people that have lost their loved one. Like, I had a lady that had lost her child to trafficking. Okay. And I knew she wasn't dead. I knew she was not dead. I kept telling her, she's not dead. She's not dead. And after 3 years, she was found alive. 3 years later, she was 12 years old when she was taken. And she was found 3 years later. I got to talk to her, which was amazing. That just gave me like the best joy ever. But trying to convince somebody that their loved one is not dead when you have other mediums out there saying, well, she's on the other side. She's on the other side. It's like, don't listen to them. Listen to me.
That must be really difficult for the families at that point, because they're at a point where they just want some form of closure.
Right.
They just want to know exactly what's happened to their loved ones, and quite rightly so, because each and every one of us in the same position would just want to know. Because whatever the situation, you can deal with it so much better if you know for sure what's what.
Exactly.
So, for the families to be told by some mediums, your loved one's gone, I'm sorry, they're deceased. Yeah. To then have somebody else saying, well, actually, that's not true. I can't explain it, but I can see it.
I know.
This person is still alive.
And it's hard because, I'm still in my grief ministry mode, because I have to be able to provide that service for this mother who is grieving. Her child's still gone, but not on the other side. But you know what I'm saying? So it's a tightrope. It's just a tightrope that you have to walk, and it's very stressful sometimes.
So how do
you cope, Debbie, knowing that a family's really desperate, want their child back, and already that the child's dead?
That's hard, and that's why I don't deal with the families until after the child has been located. I had a case just recently that I was called in by an investigator, and it was a little boy who he was 5. He was autistic, and he was outside playing, and then all of a sudden he's not there anymore. And so I'm like trying to, the call came in the evening. I'm working the case, and this is another frustrating issue that I have. I'm telling them exactly where this child is, and they're telling me that's already been searched. I'm like, you don't understand. This is where the child is. I need you to go to this part. So when you have multiple people involved, it's hard to get somebody else on the same team when you're I don't even know how to explain it. I was there I have 2 very different things that go on in my head. The child was found finally after my begging and pleading to get somebody into a pond.
Was this child deceased?
Yes. I can't find live people. I can't. If you have a dog that's missing, I cannot find the dog. If you have somebody who's walked off into the woods and is taking a hike, I can't find that person. If the person's dead, I can tell you where the person is, but I can't force people to go to that, and some people just don't get it. They finally did listen and brought in divers and recovered the boy under the ice. But and my only saving grace is the fact that he had passed before I was involved. And so, You know what I'm saying? So it didn't matter if it was 30 minutes or 2 hours or a whole day. I couldn't have saved him. So
you see, the thing is that, like we've already touched upon, this gift, this ability, this sheer chaos, with want of a better word, that you're thrown into on a daily basis could also lead you to become suspect in murder cases.
Yes.
Which is dangerous games to be playing, isn't it? You've also got to weigh that up, because you want people to have the comfort of and the rest, I suppose, because if a child, I know if one of my children was missing, I know I wouldn't rest until I knew definitively what had happened.
Exactly. And you have to be so patient with the parents that you're involved with, if they get a hold of you, you have to be so patient.
Well, they must cling on to you because you would be like the only surviving remnant link to their loved
I'm the
one.
only link that they have. And that is a huge responsibility. So you can't just poo-poo that away and be like, well, case is done. I'm sorry. I'm out. I'm checking out. It doesn't work that way. You are tied to these people at this point, and their comfort comes with your words. So you have a huge responsibility in the way you speak to these people. You have a huge responsibility in the time that you devote to this. And if you can't do that, you have no business being in this field that I'm in, you know.
No.
And I suffer from PTSD, by the way.
I was just going to say, yeah, because I know we touched up on it, but how does doing this affect you mentally? Because, you know, it must play such a huge part in your life. You must be absolutely drained, exhausted.
I am it is.
The PTSD, you know, so how does it affect you personally?
It affects every aspect of your life because this is what you live. You live this. So my mind never stops. I have a huge craft room. I do every craft that you can think of. My hands are always busy. I don't sit and think too much, you know. So, I mean, my PTSD started several years ago on a case that I was working that was just horrific. It was awful. 2 women went missing. Investigator calls, says, hey, you know, we have these 2 women missing. They're in this area. And the way I work is on Google Maps, Google Earth. You know, I am like, that is my, I cannot live without it. I cannot. And so I was working that case, and I don't know what happened. I couldn't be there. I could not physically be there at that time. So everything was happening. That's sweet. Everything was happening over the phone. And I had to go to Ann Arbor, I think, for a doctor's appointment or something. So we were in the car, and all of a sudden and this is the only time this has ever happened on a search and rescue, but I got this huge flash in front of my face, and it was just white snow because it was December, white snow and just red blood everywhere. And all of a sudden I could see every aspect of what these people were about to walk into. So I am calling my investigator. I'm like, listen, you are about to walk into a scene that is going to be horrific. I said, you are going to have blood on both sides. You're going to have blood on this tree. It's going to be terrible. And so when I was on the phone, and they're like, yep, we're seeing the spots, you know, and my heart's just going, brrr. So I'm like, they're like, we got to hang up right now because we have a real crime scene here. And I'm like, I know, I see it. So you need, you know, do whatever you got to do, bring in whoever you do, but secure the area and get out. So that's what, you know, that was the most horrific thing I've ever seen.
Is it because even though you're not there physically, you are, as you just said, you know, you're seeing all of this.
Right. Yeah, I'm there.
So do you have nightmares? Does it give you nightmares? Does it?
Never. I've never had a nightmare about it. Never.
Have you not?
Never.
See, that surprises me because even with all the goodwill in the world, what you do to finding these, like you've just said, you know, you've got a horrific crime scene that would turn most people's stomachs. So you're being faced with these, and then you have to try to carry on your everyday life,
right?
If you will,
right. And that's where the PTSD came in. And so I started seeking therapy for myself, and I got a little therapy dog, and she's wonderful. And I also never, ever, ever, never go to sleep in silence, ever. I always have my book going. I have music going. I have something, and it goes all night long.
See, I do that, but
Uh-huh.
not for any other reason other than I'm just not used to silence.
Really? Well, I'm
Yeah.
not either in my head, so I think that's probably why I do it. So I don't hear what's going on.
Yeah, I like to. I can't. These people that can just go to bed, not have a TV on, not have any sound. I have no idea how they do that because I can't. It sounds stupid, but I can't turn off. I can't go to sleep when it's just
I know.
quiet. I have too much going on in my head.
Exactly.
It must be horrific for you, and I don't even have these scenarios going on in my head. I'm probably thinking about what we're going to eat for dinner.
Right.
6 weeks down the line.
Yeah, I'm thinking about what I'm going to wake up to usually. You know, what phone call I'm going to get, what, you know, it's a different lifestyle. It's a different
Debbie, I honestly don't know how you do it. And I don't know if you can see the chat room, Debbie, or the Facebook stream, whatever you call it these days. It's a chat room for me.
Yeah.
I did put a comment on there saying, you know, this is the whole reason why we wanted to actually speak to you, because what you do, although it is still paranormal, it is massively different from going out with a K2 meter saying, is there anybody there? You know, you are actually saving people and saving people's relatives from pure torture and pure misery.
I can't imagine losing somebody and never. Can you imagine never knowing what happened to them? Never.
I can't imagine losing one of my children, to be fair,
let
alone not knowing what had happened to them.
I know. I can't either. And I think that's the reason. Your people are so beautiful. I'm telling you.
We actually think that it's you that's beautiful, to be fair, Debbie, because you're doing this to help people.
I am. And, you know, everybody's asked me, have you ever lost a loved one or anything? And no, I never have. Never have.
You've never lost a loved one?
Well, no, I mean, as in the missing. Like,
oh, right.
Missing.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. I lost my birth mother to COVID a few weeks ago. So, yeah, I've lost several people.
Debbie.
I know. It's just one of those things that she was in her 90s and it happens. So I just
actually I do vaguely remember this, because it wasn't you supposed to be on and then didn't something happen?
My brother died a week before that. Yeah, it's been awful. It's been awful. But you know what? I know because of who I am, where they're at, and I can't communicate with them. I've never been able to communicate with my family, but I know what's happening. And thank you. Oh my gosh, it's gonna make me cry.
I can't pass you a tissue, so please don't cry, because I can't pass you a tissue or give you a hug.
Sorry. This is what sits next to me all the time. I always have tissue. I never know when I'm going to break out in tears. Never. So, but one of the other things, you know, I want to say too, because I really appreciate you having me on. I really do. But a lot of people ask me why I don't work with families directly. And I'll tell you why. And because this is the day that this happened was the day that I never worked with another family member again. I was working a case. The family had gotten a hold of me, heard about me on some media thing, and I was working the case, and it was her sister-in-law had gone missing. I told her, I said, send me some pictures of an area that I'm gonna Google it, and then I want you to go there, take pictures, send them to me. So she did, and so I picked out the picture where I was seeing this situation happening, and I said, you can go there and see what it looks like from your view, because she didn't take an exact picture of the area that I wanted, but I explained to her the exact area. I said, just go to this area, just go there. And she went there, and she called me, and she was screaming at the top of her lungs because all the clothes that her sister-in-law had borrowed and had washed up on that beach. And I was scared. She was screaming. I was nervous. I'm like, okay, hang up and call the police. I couldn't even get her to hang up and call the police. I mean, it was like, call the police, you know. And that traumatized me so much that I realized that I can never put myself in that situation again. Now, after that happened, I did have divers calling me while they were out on the water and asking me, okay, you know, we're in this position, where should we be? And, you know, I had that interaction with the police, but I was such a mess after that it was, I will never do that again. I always have to have a buffer between myself and the family, always, because I never want to put a family member through that ever again, ever.
Do you meet the families after now then?
Or
do you completely try and stay out of it, so to speak?
I work all over the country, so I can't meet some of the families. Like I have interactions like this, or I'll have phone calls and, you know, things like that. But I have been very fortunate in my life. I married a pilot, so I'm able to travel wherever I need to go. But I don't generally get to meet them face to face. It's usually all done over the phone, you know.
So that in a way must be a bit of a blessing, because it gives you that little bit of a barrier.
Yes. Yeah, it does. Some of the families, you know, I've flown to Texas. I've done things there. I've flown out everywhere. I mean, I can't even tell you the places that I've gone to do this. And I can do just as good behind this screen as I can in person. I mean, I'm getting older. I've had foot surgery. I'm getting older, and I can't get out there and ground pound and look for, you know. So I have people that I depend on. I have, you know, a director up in Upper Michigan who I depend on for any cases that go on up there. He's my director of operations up there for Project Missing. So I try to get people everywhere that can help out if needed, you know.
So have you ever done anything over here in the UK?
I never have. No, I never have.
I think that's just because people don't necessarily know of you
over
here in the UK, in all fairness.
Right. Oh, I'm sure.
I think we may have to solve that one, in all fairness.
We don't need to do that.
It's not like you haven't got enough on, you know, let's add more onto your workload.
I have so much going on here. I can't even keep up here. But I mean, if a case came up there and somebody I would, in a heartbeat, I would be on it. It's hard. It's hard for me to fly there to you know, do anything, but I would definitely take that case and see what I could come up with, you know, for sure.
Debbie, honestly, I have had goose pimples the whole way through talking to you up to now. It's just so touching, though, because in the paranormal field, you know, there is a lot of bitchiness, and it is a lot of, look at me, I'm the best, I'm this, I'm that. And then we get somebody absolutely, genuinely, Debbie, do you just want to answer that question?
Yeah, you can message me on my Facebook page.
Who said that, Dave?
Norelli. I hope I said her name right.
Debbie DeBusk Marcum. That's what it is. So it's DeBusk is the middle. That's my maiden name.
How can someone that does this sort of work, search and rescue, not like paranormal investigating?
Paranormal investigating is nothing like search and rescue.
No, but you are supposed to see. You do see spirits sometimes.
I do. I do. I mean, I can go into an investigation and I can like pick up things that are there. I don't like to do that sometimes because sometimes they're a little ornery. But one of my favorite things to do is house readings. Like I will go in and read the energy of houses, and I've been invited to castles, and I've done that. Is like one of my favorite things to do. That is like
now
so
you know we love castles over here in the UK,
Yeah.
don't you, Debbie?
Over in
Bring
the
me
UK.
over. I'll come over. I'll come over now.
Come, you can stay in my bed with me. You can spoon me, Debbie.
Oh my God!
We can keep the TV on. We can spoon, and we can go do some investigating. It's a date.
I'm on it. Let's do it.
It's an absolute date. We do love castles. So
Yeah.
when you do your house readings,
Mm-hmm.
how does that work?
You know, everything that we encounter, if we are in a place for a period of time, our energy actually stays in that place. So that's why you have hauntings and things like that, where you see apparitions and different things. So when I go in, I can just I don't know, I just can read the energy of the house. It's just really strange. But it's so interesting. Like I've learned so much history from some of the places that I've gone into. And when I'm invited in, like I was invited into Henderson Castle, and we were the only ones there. And we were able to go from room to room, and I could tell what happened in each room. You know, I knew the Masons were there, that they had dug tunnels under the house. And I mean, the people were just like shocked that I knew all this. And I love that. Like that is like a huge passion of mine too. So yeah, I love doing that.
That sounds incredible as well, actually.
Yeah. I don't like to go into haunted places as much as I like to go into things like that. Like where they had funerals in this castle. There was a special room that they would lay the body out. And I mean, I saw the whole thing, and I knew nothing of the Masons, nothing, until I went to this place. And it was so funny because she handed me a book afterwards with everything that I was talking about in it. And I was just like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. So it was great.
Is it nice to have the clarification on the things that you're getting?
It is, because it's hard to believe. You know, I mean, it really is hard to believe. And even when I'm doing readings, I sit and think to myself, how is this even happening? Seriously, like, how is this happening?
So do you do readings for people as well then? If somebody said to you, could you do me a card reading, is that something that you would do, or do you try to avoid that as such?
I avoid it. I don't do it, because that to me, like, okay, so this is the thing. I feel like that's crossing the ministry line. You know what I mean? I've done readings. I have done them. I do them with Adam when we go to do events. But that is not, I used to do them a long time ago, but it takes a lot of energy, and I need to use my energy for the missing.
For the greater good.
Yeah.
Of course you do. Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, I'm not being funny, but surely, you know, people wouldn't want a card reading over finding somebody that'd been missing for years on end.
Yeah. Card readings are different for me. Like, I don't know. Being a grief minister, I deal with grief. You know, when people come to me, I've met so many people that have come to me. I have one lady that came to me, and she made me feel so good. Like, she said, I have had 3 years of therapy, and in 3 hours, you have done more for me than the 3 years of therapy I've had.
See, that's so nice.
I thought that was the nicest thing anybody's ever said to me, ever. It just gave me such, like, I felt like this is why I'm doing this. This is the reason.
So with all this grief that you contend with, from all other angles, who's there for you, Debbie? Who supports you?
The Kleenex box does. It's the Kleenex box. Seriously.
This is where I'm not supposed to laugh, but seriously.
You have to laugh, because that's how I get through it. You know what I'm saying? I have to not hold it in. I have to be able to cry when it's time to cry. I have to be able to laugh when, at silly things that I say. I was just talking about this yesterday or a couple days ago on another show. I had a woman sitting in front of me, and she was grieving her husband, and she was just she couldn't handle it. It was just so bad, and the word Santa Claus kept coming up, and I'm thinking, my God, that is the stupidest thing. I am never going to say that to this woman. I cannot say Santa Claus. And I fought with the entity telling me to, Spirit kept saying Santa Claus, So finally I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to say it, Santa Claus. And she just like, it was just like her mouth dropped, and they took me by the hand and took me into this room, and I'm thinking, okay, am I going to get a flogging? What's going to happen?
Am I going to get an elf? What's happening here?
Happening. And I see this picture of her husband, and he played Santa Claus every year.
No.
Every single year until the day he died.
So that was like secret code. So tell the wife Santa, and she'll know that I'm here.
Right.
Oh, that is so sweet.
And so, you got to laugh, because it's like, I fought for an hour not to say this, and the Spirit just would not leave me alone. And it's just like, what? Why are you going to make me say that silly word?
It's February. I'm not saying Santa.
I know. What are you talking about? It was just like, so finally I just got frustrated. I'm like, fine, I'll say it, Santa Claus.
As long as you just be quiet, I'm gonna say it, Santa.
Yeah. Exactly.
So have you got a good support network? I know that you said, earlier that you don't do this alone. You do the mediumship side of things alone, but you have got a team that you can facilitate, I suppose, with one.
I have Adam. Adam is like, he's the biggest. He's sending messages.
That's Adam, the Black Swamp medium, isn't it?
Yes.
Adam is an absolute diamond.
He is, isn't he?
I cannot wait to speak to Adam again, actually, in all fairness. So
yeah, he is great. He is my biggest support system. And then my husband, of course, it was really hard for him to understand what was happening with me, because he's a pilot, and he is, he does not go over here. He's just like
absolutely straightforward all the way.
It was crazy when
so your husband then, because that was something that I was going to ask you actually, but I completely forgot. But your husband, has he ever been into the paranormal, or did this come as a surprise to him, or
well, okay, so when we started dating, it was later in life. He's my third marriage. I had to count for a minute. He's my third marriage. Yeah, right. How many were there? And because I went back to my first husband a second time, so I don't know. Luckily I didn't marry him again.
That's a story for another day, is it?
Right. Yeah. So he, Mark and I were dating, and I didn't want to really tell him, because I'm not really out there like that, you know what I mean? So, he was getting on an airplane to fly to Florida, and I told him I had a really bad, I've always had, since I was little, airplane dreams, always. And I know.
Why did you tell me this, Debbie? I am the world's worst flyer.
No. They're not crashing. They're just super low and over my head. And ever since I met my husband, ever since we got married, I've never had another one. Never. So that's weird.
So maybe it was a premonition of sorts, because you said you do have premonitions.
I know. I'm wondering. So, and we've been married 10 years. I don't know. Who knows? I don't know if it was true or not. But so when we had just met, he was getting ready to take a flight to Florida, and I had the dream, and I thought, sometimes I can predict plane crashes, and I have done that 3 times. And so I said, Mark, make sure you're careful today, extra careful today. He's like, oh my God, why? Like, really? What are you going to tell me? And he didn't have any clue. And I just said, just be extra careful. And so he nagged me, and I said, well, sometimes I can tell when plane crashes are going to happen and things like that. I said, I think I just had I had a plane crash thing happen. And he's like, oh God, okay, whatever. He didn't really believe it. He gets to Florida, he calls me, he's like, you're not going to believe this. There was a plane crash today. I'm like, why wouldn't I believe it? I mean, maybe you don't believe it. But
You're the one that didn't believe it, sunshine.
I told you so. How many times am I going to tell you I told you so? So he's on board now. He's definitely on board with it. He's a huge support system. Huge. Like, if I need to fly anywhere, he will make sure I get there. He will make sure I get there. So
see, I just wanted to make sure that, as with everything that you do for everybody else, have you got something there for yourself? Because it's always the case. People that give are usually the ones that are not receiving.
I know. I'm receiving a lot of grief, and no, I'm kidding. No, I'm receiving. They're very supportive. Adam is like my second husband. If I have any issues, he's the first one I go to because he has the sound advice. My husband just holds me. Oh, it's okay. You're going to be just fine. No worries. No worries. And Adam's like, okay, well, we need to sit down and just figure this all out.
Let's discuss this, shall we?
Exactly. We have to get this straightened out. So
but it's really good that you've got both that angle. So you've got the emotional support from your husband for when you need it, because we all need a cuddle from time to time.
Absolutely.
We all need to be told that everything's going to be okay.
Yeah.
And then you've got Adam, bless his little heart, who will say, right, okay, let's tear this to pieces. Let's look at it logically.
Yeah. Yeah, he does too. He's amazing. He is like my bestie. He is just amazing.
See, he's amazing at what he does as well, isn't he?
Mm-hmm. He is.
So do you two work together as well on cases? Some cases, is that right?
It's so funny because I've tried to pull him into cases and things. I really believe that we all have our specialties, and we all, like Adam and I can do mediumship together. When somebody's sitting in front of us and they're having grief and they want to talk to their loved ones, we're just bing bang right off each other. But with missing, I think you have to have a different approach, and he is wonderful at what he does, but I don't think his heart is in that like mine. So it's hard for him. Like this is what I live. I live for this.
I don't think I know many people at all who would be able to physically and mentally cope with everything that you do. And it's not just like it's once in a while, is it? I mean, let's be realistic here. This is a daily basis.
It is. There's always somebody that's going missing. There's always, somebody calling and asking for your help or asking for grief ministry. It doesn't always have to be a missing, I do a lot of grief ministry, and I still minister to my families. So it is always something. And
am I right in thinking that you've not had a case yet where you've not been able to resolve it?
I have. I mean, oh God, I don't know if I have or not. That's what I'm sure I have, but I can't think of it right now. But have I? Yeah, I know I have. But you know what? I couldn't remember my social security number today, so that doesn't. You know what I mean? It's like I called the bank. I wanted money, and they're like, "Well, what's your social security number?" I'm like, "Shit, I don't know. Let me think about that." I gave him my ex-husband's social security number, not the one. Oh, that was so frustrating. Then I started getting scared. I'm like, oh my God, I probably have dementia, and how am I going to do this? But yeah, I got it resolved. So I know there's cases that I have, and just like the Heather Cousineau case, people ask me, why can't this be solved in an instant amount of time? Why can't you just look at the map, say she's right there, and then move on?
If only.
And she was how far from home? You know, she wasn't far from home. You could look out the window and see the tree that she was sitting in. The thing is, and this is what I really believe, and I got this because kind of Heather led me to this, you know, the missing girl. She did not want to be found. She did not want to be found because I can't figure out how she wasn't found, first of all. Police, dogs, hundreds of people right there, right off the road. How was this girl not found? Okay.
Well, if she was frozen, though, the dogs would have really struggled.
We
because
have
the wood and the scent.
No, we train on, like, I have a cadaver dog. We train on actual cadaver. We actually trained our dogs on human remains, winter, spring, summer, and fall. And we trained and trained and trained because that was my cover. My cover was I went out as a dog team.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
people didn't know that I was going out as a medium. But I really believe that she didn't want to be found because if she was found, then her mother could move on and would forget about her. And this is what I got from her. And I thought, my gosh, how would she hide herself so well like that? Even when she started to thaw.
Do you think maybe she, in a way, she knew what she was doing?
I
know that sounds crazy, but
yeah.
But if you was that cold that you're starting to become hypothermic,
Mm-hmm.
your fight or flight would kick in. So you would automatically know that you would have to warm up somehow.
Well,
she obviously didn't for some reason.
There's a part of hypothermia where you're so cold you think you're sweating.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that she went through that because we trained on all this stuff. You know, when we went out with our dogs, we trained on hypothermia. We trained on clandestine graves. We trained on all of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I think somehow she shielded us from herself because she did not want to be forgotten. And the day that her mother talked to her and said, hey, you know what, Heather, if you let them find you, really? Oh, my little service dog is here. Come here. She's like, Mama, come here. If this is where she sits.
Oh.
If you let me, you know, and we were all talking to Heather, let us find you and you can go with your mom. Let us find you. And she did. She did. I mean, and it was the craziest way. It was like I was in a field with three other people, my dog, the other searcher's dog, and I had let somebody take my dog because I just was tired. I don't even know. I just wanted to stand in this field, and we were so far off the road, nobody could see us. I couldn't see the road, couldn't see any houses. And I turn my head, and this white truck is coming through the field towards me. And I'm like, I had my gun because I am a gun carrier, and I do have a permit for that. But I'm like, okay, this is scary. What is going on here? You know, because I carry a gun because of bear and, you know, whatever else I might encounter. Not people in the woods, like where I'm standing there and it's no way. I was shocked. So I'm sitting there like, okay, is this happening? Is this real? Or is this one of those apparition things that I have never had in my life? So the truck comes right up to me. So I touched the truck. I made sure I touched it to make sure it was actually there. And this guy says, what are you doing out here? And I said, search and rescue. What do who are you searching for? And I thought that was the stupidest question I had ever heard, because right there, we weren't far from this guy's house. We weren't far from Heather's house. I'm like, the only person that's missing in the area. That's what I said to him. I mean, it was kind of rude, but it was a stupid question.
That would so be something that I would come out with,
right?
though. It was like, Hello.
Sorry about the ministry halo, but that came off for a minute. Like, I'm like the only person that's missing in the area, Heather, duh, you know. And he's just like, oh, well, I saw her all tangled up in the briar bushes over in front of my house. I couldn't stop because I was, and I'm like sitting there going, my mouth was open. I mean, I'm just like, what? You saw her tangled in briar bushes in front of your
Did
house?
nothing.
I didn't even know what a briar bush was. I'm like, what are you even talking about? And so he's like, well, I had to run and pay my cable bill or my electric bill because it would have been shut off. And I didn't stop to see, you know, what was going on. I'm like, are you serious right now? I said, did you call the police and tell them this? And he's like, no, I didn't. I was in a hurry. I said, whoa. I said, my investigator's out here. I said, you need to stay right here and let me. So I'm whistling, and anybody who has ever heard me whistle knows that I can whistle and you can hear me for miles. So I am whistling like a fool. I mean, just trying to get somebody's attention to get back to where I was at. And here comes my team. This guy takes off. I'm like, he tells me briefly where he lives. I see a logo on his truck and he leaves. And I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, you're kidding me right now. So I'm telling this investigator, I'm like, okay, this is what it looks like. He's like, I think I know what you're talking about. I think I know. And I'm like, thank goodness, because I don't even know. I'm just giving you what I saw because this guy was crazy. We go over to the guy's house and he relays the story again. So I'm like, well, do you mind if we search your property at this point? And he's like, no, I don't care. And sure enough, she was right there, freaking 20 feet from his driveway. Tell me how he did not.
So after being caught up in the bushes, then was she injured?
I don't know. There wasn't anything left.
Oh, right. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So she was in that, like I said, she was in that tree, that little crook of that tree, and 20 feet from his driveway.
See, there's still so many unanswered questions. Like,
For me,
at least she's been found. So, you know,
right.
Thank God she's been found. Thank God that family can start to mend and heal and recover. But there could be so much more to her death than
I know
just what we've got.
I know. And everybody else knows. But when the medical examiner came out and they took her, they said that is exactly where she died. They didn't see any kind of, you know, head trauma or anything like that. All her pieces were intact. It was just bizarre. Like,
bless her.
How are you? Because when you thaw out like that, you're going to give off an odor. How did he not, by his driveway, even though it was in the country? And I mean, I don't know. I mean, at some point, you know, it's been probably 5 or 6 years or more, and you just have to let it go.
Yeah, I mean, for your own sanity,
Sure.
you couldn't keep questioning the what ifs, could you? I mean,
Right.
it's all
Right.
for me to come along and ask you these questions, but it's not me living it day in, day out.
Right. Yeah, it does present questions, and it will eat you alive if you just don't let it go.
So how do you switch off? Please tell me you do something so you can just relax.
I would show you my room, but it's a disaster because I constantly am in here. So honestly, I play Fortnite.
I don't blame you.
I play Fortnite. I kill people on my game, and it doesn't make me feel better, but it's fun. So I do. I'm a gamer. And
I don't think anybody would actually, at this point, after watching tonight's show, I don't think anybody would give two hoots if you said that to relax, you like to strip off and run around the block naked. I don't think anybody would care because you need something.
Right. I would traumatize a lot of people in my neighborhood. So none of that. None of that.
Well, it's true though. It doesn't matter what you do. I mean, when we've been out on a paranormal investigation, you know, I like to come home. I like to get myself laid on my bed, have a shower, get laid on my bed, put my candles on, and I meditate on a daily basis.
Right.
So, you know, everybody has something that they like to do just to be able to relax and turn off and unwind and release a bit of that stress.
Exactly. And you know what? I wish I could meditate. I wish I could. I've tried. I cannot because
I'm the same.
I know it's like impossible to calm down enough to be like, oh, I can't even count to 10 with my eyes closed.
I can't do that because I just start laughing. I just can't do it.
I can completely turn off. I can literally turn my head off, so I have no thoughts at all running through my head.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's taken so many years to get to that point. It wasn't easy, but for me, that's just how I cope. I have to do that.
Yeah.
You play Fortnite.
I play Fortnite. I crochet. I knit. I work with paper. I make like haunted houses out of paper. I do acrylic. I do clay. I do anything and everything, and I never stop.
Your background is beautiful, by the way. I did mean to say earlier.
Thank you.
It's really pretty.
My chakras. Chakras.
Is it your chakras?
Yeah.
Really see that, to be fair. I'm trying to climb through into your room now. Look, sorry, Debbie. Oh yeah, that's better. Yeah, it is absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
Well, guys, we've been chatting for over an hour now, and it is getting quite late for me. It's well past my bedtime. Debbie, honestly, please don't go while we just finish up, because I will talk to you off live. But
you and Adam got your show tonight.
I do. We have our show tonight on Beyond the Silence, and he's sending me messages, checking in. Are you still good for the show tonight? I haven't responded.
Like, Debbie, where are you, Debbie?
He's probably panicking.
Say no. I'm talking to Gemma and Dave.
Yeah,
I will. I'm going to do it right now.
I need to actually book Adam in, because we had some dates, but then I had to change it because we had to move a few around. So I need to get Adam back in. Maybe get both of you together at some point.
Oh, that's fun. Always having us together is just.
I think that's got to be done. But for everybody that has tuned in tonight to join us, thank you so much. I know we was running terribly late, and massive apologies again. But that was my fault. Dave to the rescue is all I'm going to say. So everybody, thank you so much, and thank you for giving all your love to Debbie tonight. She is an absolute diamond. So Debbie, on behalf of the world, thank you for everything that you do.
Thank you so much for having me.
David, any last words?
Check out Adam and Debbie's show tonight. What time are you on, Debbie?
We're late for you guys. We're on at 7. So 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 midnight your time, yeah. Yeah, but you can
check it out. It's a good radio station.
Yeah, you can check out the rerun too, because
I usually listen to it the day after. I'm not gonna lie, I can't stay up.
You have to watch our last one on Black-Eyed Children. That was the most amazing show I think I've ever done. I love that show.
Dave, can you pop a link into the chat so that people can have a little listen? But everybody, thank you so much for joining us tonight. It's been an absolute pleasure as always. So I will see you again next week.
Thank you, Debbie.
David.
See you next week, guys. Bye.
Good night.
Good night.